GoodVibesPodcast. Today we're going to be talking about brain fog. You ever felt like you just can't think straight, like you're walking around in a mental fog, forgetting things, struggling to focus, just, not feeling as sharp as you know you should? Brain fog is one of the most common issues people deal with today, but what's scary is that most of us just accept it as normal. But what if brain fog is actually a warning sign? One that your body is sending you to tell you something deeper is off. Today, we are going to break this down with someone who knows this issue inside and out. Our founder here at Good Vibes Lab, Austin, the guy behind some of the most cutting-edge health brands. Look, you've spent years studying cellular health, performance, and longevity. What's actually happening when somebody experiences brain fog?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm happy to have some time to speak about it. Brain fog really it's a lot deeper than just forgetting where you put your keys. It's essentially a breakdown in cognitive function. I mean, your brain struggling to process information efficiently. And, it can feel like mental fatigue, slow thinking, forgetfulness, or trouble concentrating. But at its core, it's really a sign of something quite deeper. Your cells generally aren't functioning optimally. And when that happens, your brain struggles to do its job.
So would you say brain fog is a symptom rather than the problem itself?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's definitely not random. It's usually a sign of maybe inflammation or stress overload, maybe poor mitochondrial function. Um, I would say, it's probably has to do with nutrient deficiencies. Basically, your brain isn't getting the fuel or environment it needs to operate at its best.
Okay. So let's get into the why behind it. What are the biggest causes of brain fog that people don't realize?
Oh, there are many, but I'd say a few of the big ones are going to be things like, chronic stress, which has to do with cortisol, which is a hormone that helps you modulate stress, and you need cortisol, but if it's too high, it can dump into the system and cause problems with your neurotransmitters. And super high cortisol also can wreck your sleep quality, and that's obviously going to cause you a lot of brain deficiencies. Nutrient deficiencies and poor diet, I would say, is like the second aspect, really, really common today, just lack of omega-3s in the diet. Magnesium is super common. That's the biggest one I see. There's just not enough magnesium that people can even eat from a diet. So usually something like magnesium glycinate helps it substantially. And sugar and artificial ingredients, we're seeing some of that now. Finally starting to ban some of these things from the FDA side, but that's really a big problem. Mitochondrial dysfunction, I'd say, is number 3 on the list. That's really what we're trying to address the most while we're talking. But every thought you have requires cellular energy, right? So if your mitochondria isn't working right, your body's power plants essentially is what they are. They're not going to function properly. If they're not functioning properly, you're going to feel, you're going to feel it mentally. You're just not going to have the memories and kind of cognition is just not going to come to you as fast. It's an energy process. Lastly, I would say is probably just toxin exposure is a big part of why people start to have this stuff, which we're just inundated with pollutions or plastics, pesticides on our food. All types of issues there, which is going to disrupt gut-brain connection. So it starts to cause imbalances in gut microbiome, and then your brain eventually is affected by that.
All right, so we know what causes it. Now let's talk about fixing it. What are the biggest, science-backed ways people can clear brain fog and think clearly again?
Yeah, that's the good news. Is it's definitely reversible. There's lots of ways you could do it. First, I would just look at managing your stress, which will ultimately lower cortisol, not too low, but low enough where it's more regular, average level of cortisol. You can use things like breath work, meditation, cold exposure. This is what all the cool kids are doing these days. But they really do work. They're all proven to lower that stress hormone. You need to get outside in the morning, and natural sunlight is huge. Getting basically red, infrared spectrum sunlight early in the morning before it really is too much of a high noon sun. The second one is prioritizing and fueling your brain right. So prioritize things like omega-3 fatty acids from fish. I use krill oil, and I supplement with also a separate fish oil. Healthy fats from things like grass-fed beef, butter, grass-fed butter. Different types of maybe tallow, olive oil is great, like a virgin olive oil, and clean proteins. So grass-fed, pasture-raised proteins, things that are raised naturally, and cut out the processed junk and artificial ingredients. This alone makes a huge difference. Just, try to cook real food. Number three, I would say, is I would boost mitochondrial function. So you want to get high quality sleep. Deep sleep is where your brain actually starts to clear out toxins and do a process where it kind of cleans things out. So you got to sleep deeply. And I use things like rhodiola during the day, but ashwagandha is really good. Sometimes I'll use it at night. It's just these are adaptogens that help you regulate stress in general and improve other portions of hormones like testosterone to kind of balance the system back out. And lastly, I'd say I would focus on cellular health. Supplement very wisely. Focus on things that reduce inflammation, support energy production at a cellular level, and biggest of all, I would say, is hydrate. A lot of people are just dehydrated, and that causes brain fog, not getting enough electrolytes.
So obviously you've spent years developing solutions that directly address these issues. Talk a little bit about how CellYea fits into this conversation.
Yeah, the entire reason CellYea exists is because most people don't realize what I've been talking about, which is that cellular health is the root cause of most performance issues, including brain fog. We designed the Pure Power Sticks and Cellular Vitality essentially to work at a cellular level, so really take into those aspects into consideration and look at it from a full spectrum of what do the cell need to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, restore mitochondrial function, and support neurotransmitter balance. So it's not about really just masking the symptoms, but it's actually also working at the high efficacious dose, which took thousands of research analysis to figure out what exactly is the right dosage as well of those ingredients to make sure it works at a root cause.
Austin, if we have anybody out there listening that only takes away 3 things about brain fog today, what should they remember?
Yeah, I would say brain fog is not random. It's a sign something's off. So let's take a look at that. I would also say stress, diet, and mitochondrial function are going to play a massive role. So it's something that needs to be looked while you're looking into it, paying attention to those aspects. And that you can fix brain fog by managing your stress, and you can optimize nutrition and support and by supporting your cells. I would say those are the big takeaways.
Okay, so we've unpacked brain fog, what it is, why it happens, and how to fix it. But here's the thing. Brain fog is rarely an isolated issue. It's usually a symptom, as we've discovered, of something bigger happening in the body. And one of those biggest underlying causes, as we just discussed, is chronic stress. Because let's be real, most people today are running on overdrive. Whether it's work, family, deadlines, or just the constant pressure to perform, stress is always there. And the problem is, when stress becomes chronic, it rewires your brain, wrecks your energy, makes everything, including brain fog, worse. Austin, you have studied this deeply. How exactly does stress turn into a full body problem?
Yeah, it's probably the most underestimated health threat today. People think of stress just as like a mental problem, but it's actually one of the biggest drivers of chronic disease across the board and cognitive decline and inflammation. Basically what happens is cortisol, which you need, a stress hormone, helps you regulate stress, hijacks your body when it stays high for too long. Your system goes into a sort of fight or flight mode, shuts down other things like digestion and immune function. Another thing, and secondly, what's going to happen is you're going to get chronic inflammation. So as that rises, long-term stress fuels inflammation, which is the root cause of all major disease. Then your mitochondria are all of a sudden going to get out of whack. And it's not something you can see. You just kind of can feel every day when it gets harder to wake up. Your cells stop producing energy efficiently, and leading to fatigue and burnout. Hormones are next. So as your hormones get disrupted, testosterone drops, your estrogen, the balance shifts, and your mood and metabolism take a huge hit. And then lastly, I would say, in the process is all of a sudden now our brain is going to get broken and brain function starts to decline. Cortisol messes with all your neurotransmitters. It leads to anxiety, poor focus, and just sleep problems. And then it turns into a vicious cycle. It's literally a slow motion health wrecking ball, but most people don't even realize it's happening.
All right, so we know stress is a problem. How do we actually lower cortisol and fix it?
Yeah, there are probably a few areas that I would focus on. First of all, is I would train your nervous system to adapt. Breath work, meditation, cold exposure, and even sauna use is also excellent. They've been proven to regulate hormones with heat shock proteins, or like I said earlier, cold exposure is going to help you breathe deeply. That's going to get you into breath work, meditation. Even something as simple as going outside for 10 minutes. People are just not getting enough sun. Sun is such a vital I wouldn't, a lot of people think it's like vitamin D. It's so much more than just vitamin D. Everything relies on sunlight. Every single process in your body, in your entire existence, relies on light. Nourish your system right. So taking things like adaptogens, ashwagandha and rhodiola have been around for centuries, and they are so well studied to actually help lower and regulate cortisol levels, as well as, ashwagandha help with testosterone, which is another portion and hormone that you need to be in balance. And these things, again, have been used for centuries. They're very well researched and studied for safety and efficacy. The other thing is nourishing your magnesium and omega-3. So magnesium is one of the, most people are low in magnesium. And even when they go to supplement with it, it's generally not enough. I take about 1,000 milligrams of magnesium glycinate daily myself. So, and omega-3s are really, really critical for calming the nervous system. Exercise, but don't overdo it. Too much high intensity training can actually spike your cortisol, or very, very like long distance. So build it over time. High intensity exercise is excellent for longevity and stuff. So I don't want to talk against it. But when we're running our body to the wire constantly, you might see a problem with those cortisol levels again. Low impact activities like walking and mobility are like way overlooked. I mean, walking a couple miles in the sun outside is so beneficial for stress. And actually burning fat. Walking is one of the best ways to burn fat. Get better sleep. That's huge. Lack of sleep is a cortisol bomb. So, prioritize deep restorative sleep is the number one way to regulate your stress long term.
That last point is huge, because sleep isn't just a recovery tool, it's the foundation of everything. If you don't sleep well, you can't think clearly. You can't handle stress, your body can't recover. So let's dive into that also. Why is sleep the ultimate performance enhancer? Look, there's a hustle culture, right? This hustle culture mentality, people are grinding, thinking sleeping less makes them more productive. In reality, if you're not getting quality sleep, you're wrecking your hormones, right? Your immune system, your cognitive function. Austin, you said that sleep is the most powerful health intervention available. So why is that?
Yeah, sleep is basically where everything happens. When you get deep quality sleep, your brain has a process that detoxifies your lymphatic system, clears out metabolic waste, your hormones reset, testosterone, growth hormone, and melatonin all regulate during sleep. Your body repairs itself during sleep. Cellular repair and muscle recovery only happen in deep sleep process. And then metabolism and energy get optimized. So poor sleep, will wreck insulin and insulin sensitivity and fat metabolism. So your metabolism and energy is going to be affected. The problem is most people aren't actually getting the quality of sleep. They're just basically unconscious, but they're not in really a deep state of sleep.
So what is the biggest mistake people are making with sleep, and how do we fix it?
Yeah, the biggest mistake, I would say, thinking you can out supplement bad sleep habits. Here's what actually moves the needle is like you have to control your light exposure. Morning sunlight sets your circadian rhythm for the day. You can't get blue light at least 90 minutes before bed, but I would even say before that. Usually I try to put blue blockers on by about 7 p.m. And that's a really, people can't stare at their screen all the way up till bedtime. If you're going to read a book. Don't read a screen book. Or sometimes I'll listen to an audio book, but be careful because you look at your screen when you go to shut it off to go to sleep. So you want to put your glasses back on, and it's a hassle, but we keep a couple next to your bed. You want to optimize your sleep environment. So you want to keep the room as cool as possible. 65 degrees if possible. That can be really, really chilly, but at least, 65 to 69 degrees, somewhere that you can maintain as dark as absolutely possible. So no crevices even in the curtains. You want blackout curtains and free from distractions. I use a white noise, so I actually use like one of those kind of fans that purifies the air, but the white noise from it really kind of helps me set into a deeper sleep. It can't be too loud, so you want to find a good balance. You want to manage evening cortisol, and the way you do that is no caffeine past 2 p.m. So like Right now it's about 4 p.m. So, a couple hours ago, I had a pure power stick from CellYea. That is 200 milligrams, but I usually don't do it that late in the day. Today I did actually have one, but I still cut it off and try to do it by noon if possible even. Stop working at least an hour before bed. Your brain has to really start to shift into a calming mindset so that you can start to decrease that cortisol level. And use targeted sleep supplements. These are the best ones. I use magnesium glycinate. I actually use glycine, which is a part of magnesium glycinate. There's actually what they use. I use also sometimes L-theanine. Every once in a while, melatonin. Not too often. Melatonin can be problematic, overused. And then one of the big ones that a lot of people don't know about is called inositol, which actually helps a lot with sleep and helping to calm you down. Melatonin, it isn't a sleep drug. It's a timing tool. So again, use it sparingly if you're going to use it. And the thing about melatonin is the right dosage matters. So I actually use a dropper. I don't use it in a pill form. And the reason being, I can put it under my tongue and say, okay, 2 squirts, I think of mine is 3 milligrams. And I usually use 4 to 5 squirts sometimes, but some people need a little more. And so getting something that you can dosage it and regulate it, because everybody is a little bit different. Melatonin is not so much based on body weight like other things. So you want to find that sweet spot that works for you, and then make sure you don't feel like crap in the morning. And that's how you know you're probably at about the right dosage for you.
Awesome advice. Austin, if someone listening only remembers 3 things from today's episode, what should they be?
I would say brain fog, stress, and poor sleep they're very closely connected. So you have to fix them all. I would say stress is a biochemical, not just mental. Cortisol regulation is key. And that the quality of your sleep dictates the quality of your life. That would be my big takeaways.
Fantastic. That's a wrap for today's episode. If this resonated, make sure to subscribe. We got a lot more coming. Austin, thanks for breaking all of this down, and thanks for stopping by today.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny.